Dynamite download.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dynamite Download, your home for all positive coverage of all elite wrestling with your hosts, Crayfish, Mindrunner, and SPD. We are honored and excited to welcome to the show at this time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Everybody!
The Murderhawk, Lance Archer.
Everybody!
What a theme song,
Archer,
man.
the Murderhawk. Thank you so
Yes.
much for joining us. How you doing, bud? Fresh off the Jericho cruise.
Yeah, still a little shaky, but I'm good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we
Feel a little
love cruising
seasick?
here.
Well,
We got to do
I
it
don't
one
know
time.
I don't know if it was the boat or the whiskey. I don't know.
Sometimes they're supposed to counterbalance, like the people who have the most whiskey are walking straight, and the ones who don't are rocking with the ship.
Right?
That's awesome, man. Oh,
Well,
God.
Murder, we're glad to have you. But before we get started, this is going to be a very special interview. We've been working with a global conglomerate of international connections to get this on-demand talent as yourself here on the show. And part and parcel to our agreement is that we are going to partake in a very special protein dish, highly recommended by you, the Murderhawk Monster. So much like that show with the hot wings or whatever.
Right.
We're going to add some spice to this interview where, as we ask you our questions, we're each going to take bites of this Murderhawk special peanut butter and tuna protein dish. Can you tell us a little bit about how you discovered this dish? Was the peanut butter gentleman, Lady Frost's better half or lesser half, was he involved with this, or was this something you found on your own?
Yeah, how did you come up with this?
I can't remember the show. It was one of the travel food shows that was on, maybe
Okay.
Zimmerman or something like that. And he was in Japan, and I've traveled to Japan many times, but it was in Okinawa, Japan, and he was in the kitchen of these very old Japanese ladies, and like they didn't speak a lick of English, but they were just going to town, talking to him the whole time. Of course, he had an interpreter there and whatnot, and they were making kind of an appetizer dish. And I remember him, I was just watching this, and I'm like, I'm curious what it is as well, because he's like, what is this? What is this? So one of the ladies says what it is, and then the interpreter goes, it's tuna fish and peanut butter. And he's like, what? And then you're like, yeah, it's a very Okinawan thing, and like it's an old school thing, and it's just a quick little appetizer. There's a lot of like sesame and peanut dressings that are used in Japan when you're eating like the boiling pots or the shabu shabu as they call it and stuff like that. And so I think that's maybe kind of where it possibly the idea came from. I don't know. But sure enough, I was like, man, that's a pretty good idea. I really like peanut butter. I'm okay with tuna, and you're sometimes you're at night and you're like, man, I want something to eat, but I don't want to feel guilty and eat like a big burger or a pizza or something like that. Right. I was like, well, let me grab my tuna, and I had the sweet and spicy tuna, and I had my peanut butter, which I'm a creamy peanut butter fan myself.
Okay.
I mixed it together and I tried it, and I was like, this works, man. I'm okay with it. And the funny part is like when I first started talking about it, especially around the backstage of AEW, everybody was like, oh my God, what are you talking? There's no way. There's no way. Not trying this, not doing this. And every single person that ultimately did try it out of morbid curiosity came back and said, you know what? It wasn't that bad.
Nice.
I mean, I do like a little like peanut dressing and everything. I get where you're coming from. All right, I'm gonna give it a shot.
All right, I'm gonna put a good clump in there. Now,
full disclosure, this is the first time that we have ever tried this. I mean, we told ourselves back when we were trying to get on on our show years ago that this would be kind of our treat to do it. But it makes sense. I mean, high protein, nice flavor with the peanut butter.
That's actually really good.
I have to confess one thing.
It does taste like
I thought I was going to be disgusted because I don't love canned tuna or the pocket tunas. Lance, you're onto something, man. You're onto something. I like it.
Simple, easy snack, pretty much high in protein. Like I said, it's all about the consistency. And like I said, I think the sweet and spicy or something like that works well. I don't think it works with like lemon pepper or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, just again, it depends on your level of peanut butter enjoyment as to how much you add into it, whether you're going to taste more tuna, more peanut butter, if you give it a good, even consistency. It's up to you, but it's good.
I mean, all jokes aside,
Yeah.
man, you are a world traveler, and it's cool that you're able. It's cool that you've been able to embrace different cultures and kind of integrate that into your day-to-day life. Things that you can find on a shelf at a 7-Eleven, pull it all together and keep it going. That's awesome.
Full disclosure too. This is actually the second time I've had this. First time was I made the deal that if you beat Moxley for the New Japan United States title, I would eat it, and I did. And I already can tell you, I actually have a taste for it. So there's my tuna.
I bet you thought you were safe, huh?
No, I actually wanted to. I had it ready to go. I was rooting for it. I popped when you won, man.
That was a great match. Circling back to wrestling and stuff. I love talking food. We're big foodies here on our show as well. But as we mentioned earlier, it's a long time coming for us to chat with you. We've been fans with you quite some time now. And what we love about just everything about you is so different and unique. And you never know what you're gonna get when you're storming to the ring. Whether it would be violent entrances, people getting thrown off stages or thrown through ceilings. When that countdown hits, it's just like run for your lives. And then in the ring, you got a strong, diverse offense. You got the powerful offense. Then you got the flips that you can throw. You can walk the ropes. I mean, like, to me, you got it all. And a badass look to go with
agree.
it. Yeah, and a badass look to go with it. Fiery promos, the total package. I got to know, I love a good entrance. So where did the entrance theme song inspiration come from? And then the inspiration of just having this chaotic run for your lives theme or entrance as you're walking to the ring?
Well, I mean, it was a morph of things that happened over the years. I mean, if anybody got to see a lot of what I did in Japan, there were a few years where I was getting to come out and, it was always a question of how many water bottles I would have buried in my pants and hands and wherever. And I would spit and throw water into the air as much as I possibly could, thoroughly hydrated the audience as I made my way in. And it got to the point where that entrance was actually, I'm sure there were people that didn't like it, but I didn't care. But there was, in Japan, there were people that made signs for it. It was like water here. And I remember specifically, like I was going through the crowd and I was spitting the water, and it turned into more just throwing the water with the water bottle, because hygiene, whatever. Like I said, I didn't care. And I came around a group of fans, and this dude held his child up not to block himself, but he wanted his child to be doused with what they were
baptism.
They were
baptized by the Murderhawk.
They were calling it holy water, because I mean,
wow.
They would do the translation, and part of my faith is a big part of my life. And I think some people kind of associated that with the water and called it the holy water. And he wanted his child blessed in that moment. And I just kind of went past that child. I didn't actually douse that child. I didn't bless that child at that moment, But but ultimately that got taken away from me. And that was even before the world lost its mind with the pandemic. And I was like, I needed something else to do. Suzuki was known for kicking the crap out of one of the young lions. Like usually it was like he'd make his way into the ring, or one of the young lions would try to hold the ropes open for him and he'd kick the crap out of them. And once in a while they were, unlucky recipients of his wrath after matches and whatnot. But I was like, you know what? Normally New Japan has 2, 3, 4 young lions around the ring. I was like, I'm just going to make sure that each and every one of them gets a taste of the Murderhawk monster. I think at the time it was the American Psycho, and then ultimately morphed into the Murderhawk monster. And then, coming into the U.S., AEW and U.S. wrestling doesn't have young lions just hanging around the ring ready to be victims. So I had to start getting creative. And, a lot of the matches that I've been involved in AEW, they're very quick matches, and they're usually with talents who are hoping to be seen and get a chance. And unfortunately they get stuck with me, and,
their chances getting destroyed.
It happens. I've chased them to the ring. I've carried them to the ring. I've thrown them to the ring. I've kicked them down the ramp to the ring. There's been all kinds of different styles of entrances. Cameramen have been unlucky. Security guys have been unlucky. There's, but it's all part of the fun of, sometimes I jokingly say I think people are more interested to see my entrance than they are to see me wrestle. So,
well, your interest sometimes is longer than the match. It's like I can just imagine a new guy. Hey, I got good news and bad news for you. The good news, you're going to be on TV tonight, and it's going to be a quick match. The bad news is this is who you're taking on.
Yeah, one of the baddest dudes on the planet.
Exactly.
It is funny though. I mean, the SPD talked about it. You know, it's not just the entrance. We've always loved your offense, Lance. You could really, as a big man, you can do it all. It's really funny, Mind. I'll let you jump in here. I think Lance talked a lot about stuff in this question, in that response, that we wanted to get more in depth on.
okay.
And one of those things was your faith.
Okay.
For me, like one of the things that I've always really appreciated about you is your faith and how you're so respectful about it online. You share it online, but you've been pretty consistent about how the role that it's played in your life.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about that? I think especially in today's day and age, it's really important to have that reminder of hope.
Right.
How has that played a part in your career to this point?
Well, God's always played a part in my life, my whole life. You know, I've been blessed with a great family that brought me up in the church, and they never forced anything on me. You know, I understand that some people kind of have, I don't know, ill tastes about religion or Christianity, things of that nature, because sometimes it seems to be forced upon them, and the people that are involved in it can be very judgmental. And the one thing that I've always stated is, I am nowhere close to being perfect. I am beyond sinful, beyond the imperfect as a human being and as a Christian, but my faith in God and Christ is always there, because I know no matter what, whether it's wrestling or hobbies or just life in general, the one thing that will always be there for me. And again, if you want to ask me those questions and have that conversation, I'm beyond open to speak to anyone about that at any time. And I'm not shy about sharing my faith. I don't want to force it upon anyone, because I don't think really anything, especially like that, should ever be forced upon anyone. But again, I'm not shy about it. And again, I don't exclaim to be some perfect goody two shoes that's better than anyone else, because God knows I am not. But it is my one thing. God, Christ is the one thing, the only thing that I believe will never leave me. My health will leave me. My family might leave me. Like I always say, everybody dies, which we all do. But the one thing I believe truly to my heart and soul is that God will never leave me, and that Christ is my Savior and Lord.
Love hearing that.
I really respect how you answered that, Lance.
And to anyone out there that thinks that makes me less of a threat in the ring or as a human being, may God have mercy on your soul, because I sure as hell won't.
Yeah,
It's more of a threat, because who's got your back now?
Well, you have kind of an agreement. It's like, hey, I'm providing heaven with some fresh souls every day. So,
Well, and honestly, you've done an awesome job. Even some of your earlier promo work, I really loved how you would integrate the fear of revelations, and I mean, there was some real biblical stuff in your promo work in AEW. So there's some fear with that could come with that too. You know, there's blessings, but there could be fear.
That's the whole point, man, to try to scare the crap out of you.
And like your back tattoo, isn't that the scene from the crucifixion? And you've got the two thieves, and I think that's tremendous. That's cool imagery.
Yeah, it's the scene of Calvary. You know, I mean, it's kind of morphed into that. You know, originally the back tattoo has gone from what many have tried to call the tramp stamp, but I affectionately call it the champ stamp.
There you go.
Nice.
But then I added the big cross, and then I ultimately added the rest of the scene of Calvary with the other crosses on the smaller crosses on the lower half. And then more recently, I've added my wings, my angel's wings, that are going to help me fly. So, you know, it's been a morphing of the back tattoo over the years. Like I said, from going from the champ stamp to what it has become now. It is definitely based in my faith. So are the tattoos that are on the back of my arms. I have Revelations 1:4 on my leg. It's wrapped around my leg, but most people never see that. And it's a lot of that's for me. I can't see my back and I can't see the back of my arms and things like that, but it does help remind me when people are asking, what's that say or what's that about? And it's like, it's to remind myself, of who God is into my life and ultimately where I need to be and focused on.
Yeah, and the last thing they see before the blackout is usually oh, there it goes.
This is true. I'm trying to give them hope in their death.
Little witness. Yeah.
Now, as a man of faith, when you came to AEW,
Mm-hmm.
a certain serpent accompanied you, kind of a serpent whispering in your ear, if you will. And he kind of not quite your consigliere, certainly not doing the promos for you because you got incredible promos. But Jake the Snake Roberts, another dangerous man.
Right.
Lately, though, we saw you at personally, we saw you up close at the Norfolk show. Okay. And I noticed specifically that there seems to be some frustrations lately that maybe Jake's getting a little bit more distracting, maybe not on purpose, but like taking away from some of the frustrations. And is there, first, tell us a little bit how you and Jake became a thing and when you came to AEW, and then secondly,
where are you at now? Yeah,
where are you at now? Where's what's going on with that relationship?
Jake has been beyond helpful and invaluable in my career. And the whole point of having Jake with me when I arrived in AEW was I've been a part of wrestling for coming up on 24 years. But the bulk of my career, and especially at that point coming into AEW, had been spent in Japan. And, whereas I had a decent stint in TNA, a very short, small cup of coffee in WWE. Yep. I'd been away from the American wrestling scene for like 9 years at that point. So, the hardcore wrestling fans in New Japan had really gained a lot of ground worldwide around 2019, which was probably one of my strongest years as a singles wrestler. So people had started to pay attention, but again, you had to be a true blue wrestling fan that was looking for different alternatives in wrestling, and New Japan was truly becoming that at the time. But for a lot of the American casual fans, either they only remembered me more or less as what I did in TNA. The Rock and Rave Infection was probably the one thing that gets brought up more than anything. But that was back in the early 2000s. So now I'm re-entering the American wrestling scene. Jake the Snake Roberts is an absolute icon and legend in the business. I appreciate you saying that I cut good promos, but nobody can touch Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah.
And I think he helped give a voice to the Murderhawk monster. I knew what to do when I stepped in the ring. I knew what to do when that entrance music hits and I walk out that curtain and I'm beating the crap out of somebody before I even get to the ring. I knew how to be me all the way to the ring, in the ring, and out the ring and back to the behind the stage. But speaking and finding that voice for the Murderhawk monster was something that I didn't have just yet. And he was the kind of the bridge between, who I was in Japanese wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling to what I was going to become in AEW and American wrestling. And then he's helped me tremendously, some of those promos that I got to do early on the Darks and things like that. The little bit of time that I had with Sting on Dynamite a couple times back then, a lot of that learning to speak and be the Murderhawk monster through voice and not just action came from what he was able to teach me. The Dark was invaluable in that moment because we were given the time and opportunity to go out there. And again, there were really no fans. There were a few extras that were being our fan base at the moment, but we were just speaking to an audience that was watching at home, whether if it was Dark, you were watching it on YouTube. If you were, if it got to be on Dynamite, you were watching it on TNT at the time, now TBS. He helped me learn how to voice the Murderhawk monster, not just be the destructive force that I was from curtain to curtain, but also that moment of solace and somberness that he can bring that nobody else can do. Now, fast forward, it's not that Jake's not still valuable in that sense, because Jake will always be valuable to myself, to the business, to anybody who's willing to step to him and go, hey, help me in these promos, help me voice my own character, because he's one of those guys that can take 2 words and turn it into an entire promo that you will have chills from.
Yeah.
So there's very few that can accomplish that. Now, again, curtain to curtain, that's my space. That's where I reign supreme. And, there's times when Jake gets a little ahead of himself and decides to put his hands on guys. And that's where the little discourse comes from, is, him choosing to clothesline a couple guys and punch a couple guys. And, like when Hangman and I had that title match, he set him up for that DDT. That's not his moment. It's mine.
Yeah.
And so that's where that little waveriness comes from.
He's getting that itch to get back in that squared circle. He sees how
he better be careful, because his opponent might be Murderhawk Lance here.
Yeah. I have absolutely all respect in the world for Jake Snake Roberts and everything that he has done, is doing, and will do for me. But he needs to know his role.
The pairing has been fantastic from the beginning, and I just love the pairing, and hearing your story, just how helpful he's been throughout your AEW career and beyond. Because he brings that scary aura that works so perfectly with you. I mean, being able to share that time with him, and in the ring, you've shared just AEW alone with so many names, the countless matches that we've loved. You mentioned the Hangman match. You've wrestled Cody, Moxley. I mean,
love this
everyone
Phoenix.
in between. Yeah. But one of my favorite ones was early on with Ray Phoenix. And so that's a total different style. I thought you and Ray Phoenix just like tore the house down.
Yes.
I still remember that, and just marking out for
Love that.
Is there anyone on the current roster that you are just kind of salivating to go battle with right now?
Jeez, that list is beyond long. A lot of times, like fans will always ask, "What's your dream match, Lance? What's your dream match? Who do you want to step in the ring with?" And my list is usually very short. It's who are the champions, who are the guys that hold those titles. And right now, Samoa Joe is the AEW champion, and he and I have. I think we had a very small brief encounter in TNA, but it was nothing very specific or good. And, he is Samoa Joe. He is somebody that is beyond respected in this business. He's the champion of AEW. He's been multiple time champion in multiple different companies. But I'm not the same guy that he stepped in the ring with back in TNA. And if the Murderhawk Monster stepped in the ring with Samoa Joe, I think it would be a battle for the ages, and I would love that chance yet again, to become the AEW champion.
Oh, that would be tremendous.
That would be an awesome battle for sure. And recently,
Joe, hold on, Joe, you're paying attention to Swerve and Hangman, and you absolutely should. Those two are badass dudes, but I'm a bigger, badder dude than both of them, and if you even dare to give me a chance, I will knock your teeth in and take your title.
Yes.
That's what some of the most positive stuff that comes out of social media, which is it's a very negative platform, is the banter where you're getting to call out wrestlers, because we've seen it. You've been calling out Samoa Joe. You've been calling out Brian Cage. This famous photo right here that we absolutely loved. And so it's just these matches and potential feuds that are almost like self-starting online and just getting like the fans like us behind it. Is Brian Cage on that list?
Absolutely. Brian and we've stepped in the ring on a couple independent shots here and there around the country. But to be on that stage, the machine and the monster going at it one-on-one, battling, tooth and nail, I think it would be a fun experience for the fans. For us, like I said, I think the difference in styles, he likes to get his shit in. I like to push his shit in, but it's one of those things where sorry, that's why I need Jesus, man.
That was funny, man. That was great.
We would love to tear it down and make the fans very happy, because I think we would give a match that a lot of people wouldn't expect to see an amazing.
300% agree.
Come on, Tony.
All jokes aside, though, with you mentioning Samoa Joe, Joe brings a real seriousness to AEW. The product of AEW sets a tone, well respected across in the industry. Absolutely. And for him to step in the ring with you, a guy who, again, no nonsense. When that bell rings, you're ready to tear somebody up. Yep. I think that would be a war. I think that would be a war that a lot of fans would really enjoy. So I'm all for it. I think that's an awesome idea. Tony, book it, baby. I like
Look
you post it.
Look at Tony. One of the coolest moments for me, as I mentioned earlier, I ended up sampling the tuna and peanut butter because of your victory, and I'm sitting here straight up eating it.
I'm
like
literally
it's my
gonna
dinner.
finish the bowl. Yeah,
I've been eating it this whole time. But one of the coolest moments for me was when you beat Moxley for the New Japan United States title.
Me too.
AEW, I popped, so I was so giddy. But you also have been part of one of the scariest factions in the world, Suzuki-gun, led by perhaps
the
the only
saying
man.
It correctly.
What's that?
Thank you for saying it correctly.
Yeah, some people say Suzuki-gun, Suzuki-gun. I'm trying to say it that way. And it's led by arguably the one person on this planet more sadistic than you, Minoru Suzuki, Kazi Ninare, everybody. But you've had so many matches in New Japan that we actually kind of joked last year that for Forbidden Door, which side would you be on? Would you actually be more the New Japan side rather than AEW? But how integral have you and like other guys like Rocky Romero have been in this relationship between AEW and New Japan? It really has been generating a lot of cool moments, especially for fans like us. And how has that been developing? And what do you see going forward with that relationship?
Well, I mean, I think Rocky Romero absolutely has been beyond influential in making Forbidden Door and that relationship between AEW and New Japan a huge part of professional wrestling today. So a lot of credit goes to him. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I don't think a lot of people understand of how integral he's been in that. For me, I'm at this point right now, I'm just a talent. I'm just a guy who spent a lot of time in New Japan Pro Wrestling and have now had about 4 years with AEW. And then, AEW and Tony have been awesome enough to allow me to go back to New Japan a few times here and there. I got to go be a part of the 2022 G1 Climax, which was a huge success. It was a weird experience because the fan base in Japan still wasn't allowed to cheer, but it was still, especially since my last time in Japan was right before the whole pandemic hit, was really special for me to go back to. Teamed with Suzuki, like you brought up a minute ago, in the 2022 World Tag League. Fast forward to last year, I got to fight Will Ospreay again in Japan. Was a part of the New Japan Strong shows that went on over there. And then most recently, this year's World Tag League, teaming with Alex Zane and the fun and awesome team of Monster Sauce. So
yes,
it's been cool to be able to go back there while still being a main roster guy with AEW because of that relationship that exists. The Forbidden Door wasn't just open once or twice for those shows, as you've seen. I think Saturday Ishii's going to challenge for the international title. So it's one of those things that it seems to be right now, it's always open. And initially when the company first started, there was a little bit of hesitation between the two companies to work together. But over the last few years, you've seen how open that door has become. And it's a really good thing for the business as a whole. It's great for AEW because it brings in New Japan stars. And it's great for New Japan because they get to still work with guys like myself, Eddie Kingston, who competed in his first G1 in 2023. Bryan Danielson is going over for the Osaka show on the 11th. You just have all this back and forth between talents. So it's a really cool integral part with Forbidden Door. And as of right now, I don't see any end to it. So it's going to continue to get bigger and better and stronger for the business as a whole.
So cool.
Iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I think, Lance, you mentioned, you talked about being in a group, and I think so often when we look at your character, so much of it is this guy who's like this chaotic neutral, and you never know where he's going to go. But one of the things that you've really been focused on right now has been this team with the Righteous, right. And again, a group that kind of fits your vibe a little bit. Tell us a little bit about how that group came together and what your thoughts are on how that team is kind of culminating and where the direction is going from here.
Yeah, you have the sadistic, crazy, and chaos all mixed into one little group there.
Dig what I'm saying.
It was kind of spearheaded by Jake. I had that match with Darby Allin, and then Jake had a plan, and So the Righteous, who are integral parts of Ring of Honor, and obviously Ring of Honor and AEW have that existence together. So it's one of those things, again, kind of like Forbidden Door. You have guys and girls coming from all over different companies and different places that can help make shows, whether it's Dynamite, Rampage, Collision. It doesn't matter if it's on New Japan Strong, because a lot of us get to go work the New Japan Strong shows in the US, or going over to New Japan and competing over there. So again, you're just having all these different talents come together. So the Righteous and myself came together, and it's a fun, powerful team. You know, we haven't had the greatest success just yet, but that doesn't matter. We're still filling each other out. We're kind of in and out, and it happens. We'll pop up on Ring of Honor in the next week or so again, and just whooping some ass and taking no names because we didn't take the time to figure out who they were. But you know, it's one of those things, like, things take time to kind of come together, and people are kind of like, okay, this is kind of cool. I'm digging what they're saying. But the longer it goes and the more matches we have together and the more continuity we have as a team, they're going to do more than dig. They're going to absolutely understand that we're one of the toughest trios in all of professional wrestling.
Amen to that. Who's the craziest of the three of you? I'm not entirely sure, because Dutch is out there, man.
Dutch is kind of that he's that oh, okay, crazy, and I'm kind of that you run to the other side of the room crazy, because you know there's two different. I don't know. I'm that chaos. That's what I am.
Yes, sir.
All right, mine. I think it's time for our fast five.
I think so.
Oh, it is time. Now, Lance, I got to tell you. You have had some of the most brutal slobber knockers. That Texas death match against Hangman, where you've clashed with Moxley, clashed with all these people. You've bled all over the globe.
Yep.
Nothing has prepared you for the Fast Five right here, right now. It's time for the Fast Five.
Who's been?
All right, Lance, this is not to cut you off on that little intro there, but it's SPD's Fast Five. Just the way, I mean, we've had a blast talking with you, but to end the interview on just a lighthearted note, the Fast Five random questions, the first answer that comes to your mind, just spit it out right on top. So first question, you mentioned earlier you traveling Japan and the food and the tuna and peanut butter, kind of the origin of that. What is your favorite Japanese food?
Raw horse.
Raw horse?
Oh my God.
Amazing.
What?
Really?
It's amazing.
Our bingo card did not have that. That's for
No.
sure.
That's wild.
I'm dead serious, too.
What is it like? Almost like sashimi, or like how do they prepare that?
Yeah, it's if you go on my Instagram, I've posted pictures of it before. Shout out to Sakasa, who takes me usually to a horse restaurant every time I go over there. Yeah, and it's served beyond extremely fresh. It's usually salted or sauced. You know, you get a little dipping sauce, like a soy type sauce, and it's awesome, man. It's very lean. It's very clean. It's not gamey at all. It's you know, it's a tartare or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's just so fresh. It's so good.
All right, guys. Next interview we do with Lance.
We got to find a way. Next time we get together, we're all gonna have horse.
Lance, when you come back, we're doing horse chops.
Well, I think it's illegal stateside, so
Yeah.
I might know a guy.
This is the first time that we've had the Fast Five like come to a screeching halt. Like, whoa.
That was a curveball for sure.
Oh, wild, man. All right, back on track, SPD.
Your guilty pleasure or favorite TV show to watch?
Big Bang.
Okay. Which is ironically right before Dynamite usually.
Nice lead in.
Nice cross promotion there too.
As one of the hardest hitters in AEW, who can dish it out as hard as you?
Nobody.
Good answer.
Second to you though.
Second to me. You know, Moxley is not afraid of anything. You got guys like Darby who'll sacrifice his body no matter where he goes. Eddie Kingston, who comes from every street in the world and loves Japanese wrestling, and who'll bring that back fist as hard as anybody else. The list goes on and on. You know, Hangman, who brings the everything he does as hard as he can. So that list goes on and on with all the guys that I've stepped in the ring with. But you know, those are a few.
Who's the most brutal woman?
The most brutal woman? I I don't know.
Marina Shafir, maybe, I don't know.
That's good. You
Thunder?
haven't been hit by too many women in the
Yeah.
All right. What is one non-wrestling hobby you have that a lot of fans would be surprised to learn about you?
I love riding my bike, my motorcycle, my Harley.
Okay. You look like a Harley guy.
I can see it.
The braids blowing in the wind. That's right.
Yeah.
It's just,
All right. What is
special.
one piece of advice you would give a young wrestler just starting in the business?
Work on every aspect, not just the wrestling in the ring, but the way you look, the way you speak, the gear that you wear to the ring. It's a show, it's entertainment. And if not every aspect from curtain to curtain is something that people want to see, it's much harder for them to get behind you. Yes, you can be the greatest wrestler in the world and do some of the coolest moves that have ever been seen in the business. But if everything from the beginning, from like I said, once that music hits to when you walk back out that curtain, if they're not entertained all the way and they don't remember your name, then you've done something wrong. If they can only remember your moves and the spots you did, then you've made a mistake.
That's
well
good.
said. That's what
Great answers on all those.
Yeah. That's one of the things that we love so much about you, Lance, is you do genuinely come off as a guy who wants to see the best in others. And so I could see you really being a leader in a locker room anywhere you go. And you share that kind of wisdom with people on social media. And we love interacting with you on socials. SPD, throw up that graphic so that everybody knows where to follow Lance when they jump on. Make sure that you follow Lance on both X and on Instagram. A guy who, again, funny, uplifting, positive guy, and always trying to see the best for other people. A good follow on social media for anybody.
And cheers up for the Lounge Daddies.
That's right. That was one thing. I do travel a lot for work. I'm heading to Chicago tomorrow, and so I'll definitely be posting a 7 a.m. Lounge Daddy post. But yes, that is the Lounge Daddies. I forgot all about.
Love it, Lance. Yes.
Lance, thank you so much for taking time. Long time coming, like we said. We really enjoyed it. The tuna, my dog, that's why he was barking so much, because he smelled the tuna and peanut butter. It's like
he knows a good thing.
Two of his favorite things. Yeah.
Yes, two of his favorite things. He was like trying to jump on my lap. But thank you so much, man. Keep kicking ass, and we appreciate the time.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, man.